Shalom to Malcolm Hoenlein, Executive Vice Chairman of the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations.
Shalom to you.
So one of the topics you're discussing at your annual conference in Jerusalem is the decision to grant Spanish citizenship to the descendants of families expelled from Spain hundreds of years ago. Is this real?
Well, I think it's real, as we learned in our visit to Madrid this past week, where we had a chance to meet His Majesty the King, the President, the Justice Minister, the Defense Minister, all sorts of other leaders. And there was a consistent message that this was an attempt to confront the past and to address the evils that were done 500 years ago, and recognizing that to build, as the King said, for a better future. And I think it's only those who confront the past with courage and with honesty that they can build. There are still too many who deny the events even of 70 years ago, let alone past ills and misdeeds.
Practically speaking, how will this be done?
The next stage is that they have to finish the legislation and then begin the very difficult process of trying to find a way to implement it, which I can't even imagine how they would set up a process. They said through rabbis, through local communities, through the Jewish community in Spain, that would consider those who apply. They would have to be able to prove their connection to those who live in Spain. Many still have keys. Many have other forms of identity of relations in the past who were expelled at that period of the Inquisition. So that process, I think, will be a bit off before they'll know how to do it.
Now, it's important to note, Malcolm, that although we're talking about Sephardic, Spanish, actually, because the families were expelled, many of these families are today Ashkenazim.
Many of them are identified as Ashkenazi and don't know of their Sephardic heritage. I myself am one of them, whose grandmother's name was Esperanza, and now her grandchildren's names are Tikva, and that there was a family history that always associated that side of the family with having come from Spain. But it would be very hard to document it without very extensive research. But you're quite right. The dispersal of the Jews from Spain led to the creation of communities in many places, or the absorption into existing communities. So again, I think the symbolism of this is greater than right now the practical application.
So as we mentioned, this is all happening at the annual gathering which took place in Jerusalem. What other hot topics did you have at this year's gathering of the Conference of Presidents?
Well, clearly the issue of Iran remains a top priority for us, and the continued violations of the UN Security Council resolutions, despite the agreement or framework agreement that they reached, their continued involvement in human rights violations, the weaponization, the ballistic missiles, and so many other aspects of their support of terrorism globally. I think secondly is the issue of the delegitimization campaign, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions, and what we're doing about them and how we prevent the expansion of these efforts in Europe, in the United States, and around the world. Third, I would say, is the peace process, and fourth, of course, is strengthening the U.S.-Israel relationship. You know, we get all the reports in the media whenever there's a glitch or some tension in U.S.-Israel relations, but the day-to-day positive aspects, the military cooperation, the intelligence cooperation, the R&D, there's so many areas. I mean, David's Sling and Iron Dome, let alone the joint military exercises, let alone their work together at the United Nations. There's so many positives, and the American people are more supportive of Israel than ever. Indeed, there are tensions, as there will be in any close relationship. I think it's very important that people be very careful how they characterize it, the kind of words that are used on both sides that are unfortunate, because words do have consequences, and apologies don't erase when unfortunate expressions are used or characterizations, and certainly it should never be personalized.
Malcolm Hoenlein, thank you very much.
My pleasure always.